Hello everyone, welcome to episode 43 of Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. And it is with great pleasure I get to announce to you, we hit 1,000 and it's all because of you. Thank you so much, all of you that have subscribed to my channel. Continue to watch, comment, give me advice, and sometimes kudos, or often kudos. Thank you so very much, I appreciate it. And we're going to get to a little bit more about that in just a few moments. The big thing that happened for me this week was Dragon Con, and if you listen to my vlog, which I aired yesterday, you'll get a gist of one of the things that I was talking to Ben about, and that was the front page. But there's a lot of other things that happened at Dragon Con, and I'm going to get into one that's not related to Star Citizen first, and then we're going to go into the other ones. I attended a panel with Ben, Ian Borgost, and of course this gentleman over here, and he is no other than Lord British himself, Richard Garriott, who for the longest time I thought was British, but actually was born in Texas. Amazing, amazing, amazing opportunity. I had to sit down and talk to him for about 10 seconds. Was going to go out for a drink with him later on that night, and it just didn't happen. And then, of course, he invited us out again on Sunday, and I didn't attend because I was having a big day with my children, and that was important. And they're not really so sci-fi geeky that they wanted to be there until they found out that I met the person that started Origin, and then they got a little bit excited. To them, Origin is a download thing that they get their games from, and it's not the same Origin that I grew up with Ultimate and other things. The big thing about Richard Garriott is that he was explaining how they went to Chris and his team to talk about starting a crowdfunding campaign when they got the idea for Shroud of the Avatar. I think that's amazing. So you see, our success is starting to breed success with other people, which is kind of funny because, you know, Richard owned Origin, and, you know, most of these people worked at Origin, and now they're helping Richard start his own thing. And of course, Richard has been to space with the Russians, of course. And I think that's pretty cool. I'm sure he carries these around to give to most people, but I'm going to keep this because I think it's pretty awesome. I'm going to interview Richard about Shroud of the Avatar in the future, and it will go under the under the community interviews section of my YouTube channel. And that's all I'm going to say about this non-Star Citizen related topic, which I tied it into Star Citizen, right? Well, other things I learned at Dragon Con. I've talked to Ben a lot, and you see that. I've had him on the show quite a number of times. Also had him and his team on the podcast. And I never opened up my ears and listened to the statement that I'm going to make here, which you probably all know. Ben has designed most of the ships. Not the graphics and the coding and all that other aspects, but the ships themselves. Came up with the ideas of what they should do, what they should be, and how they should work in the persistent universe and Squadron 42. I find that amazing. So next time we have a problem with a ship, we just call Ben and tell him. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. The second piece that I found out by talking to David and Ben and other people is everything you give to Foundry 42 grows immensely in size. So if you see it on their plate, aka the Idris got bigger, the Retaliator beefier, and now they're working on the Starfarer. I guess there's absolutely no chance that thing's ever going to fit in my hangar now, unless the hangars are bigger when they release the new ones. Anyway, for those of you lucky enough to get a Starfarer, God knows that's the next ship I want now that I know that Foundry 42 is working on them. So I talked about that. Now let's talk about the 890 jump. The 890 jump is going to be immense. I got time to sit down. Well, of course, I had a lot of time to sit down with Ben. We walked him 1.5 miles to eat dinner and sit at a bar with us, but I also hung out with him in different ones of the panels that he was on and had lunch with him with a whole bunch of you. And if you were there, please comment below. And he was talking about the 890 jump, and the 890 jump has grown. Well, it hasn't grown. We never saw it. It's the size of the original Idris before the Idris went to Foundry 42. So expect this thing to be pretty hefty in price. It's going to be up there, and that's all he would say. He wouldn't give a word. Now, for those of you that remember, the Idris was like 1,000, 1,100, 1,300, or 1,400, depending on when you purchase it, right? So the Idris, in my estimation, is going to be somewhere below 1,000, but over 800, right? Maybe 750, the lowest. Who knows? That's an expensive ship for a virtual game. Now remember, these are pledges to get the game going. They're not the true cost of the ship. When the game goes live, those of us that aren't crazy enough to spend our own money will be able to make UEE credits and purchase these items. Lore, I got to talk to David and I asked him about continuity in the lore because it's really important to me so people don't do stupid things like midichlorians in Star Wars. And he assures me that they have a way to keep the lore consistent, but they have to be willing to do something that differs from the lore if it means creating a better experience in the game sometime in the future. I agree with that, and we just have to roll with that punch. So just to give you a heads up, the things that we get to read from CIG that David's team works on have two purposes. One is to entertain and one is to guide us along the storyline of what's going on in the universe, right? So if it comes out on a Tuesday, generally those things are known to be in universe. So we'll expect to see things. For instance, the Xi'an service stations opening up across the UEE space. And today they had something about the UEE Marines that was released in OpNet Merc or something like that. So those things we'll see. Lynch Fever, we'll see. But the other items that are released, like in Jump Point, that are fiction, they're fiction. They aren't necessarily lore builders, they're entertainment. So that's just so you see, and when you start talking about what things are in universe and what things aren't in universe, if it's from the Tuesday Spectrum reports, then it's definitely going to be something that's trying to stay close to being what the lore of the story is going to be in the game. And if it's from something like Jump Point, then yeah, just take it with a grain of salt that it's just there to entertain us. Stretch goals are changing. We know this. Chris started to state that they are. And this is from the crowdfunding little panel that they had. And Richard explained that they have different types of stretch goals inside of Shroud of the Avatar. And Ben stated to me that they're going to start moving to some of these different types of stretch goals. They're not doing away with the monetary stretch goals totally. What they're going to be is diversifying the way that stretch goals work. Let's put it this way. We don't need to push the counter anymore. They had $52 million. And let me tell you, I'm tired of playing the game that Star Citizen is about moving the ticker. Now they're going to be a wide variety of things, including moving the ticker, but also including things like maximum players online, maybe how many times you killed a certain NPC inside of Arena Commander, maybe certain ships that were played that week. Who knows? It's all up to them. And then the you'll probably see more Hangar flare items and more flare items totally, for the actual prizes for those. As they come up with a new feature that they want to add to the game, you could expect that they're going to go back to the old model and say, when we hit this monetary number, we'll be able to start working on, or it will help us work towards adding that feature into the game. Okay, so that's pretty good. So the redesign of the front page is now underway. I talked about this in my vlog yesterday, and I'm just going to be very brief about it. But the page right now doesn't say enough about Squadron 42, how to get in the game, what to do when you get in the game, how to buy a ship, why are you buying a ship, how many ships do you have to purchase. But to me, it actually doesn't give the story of the universe enough. And that's something that is going to change. I don't know how it's going to change, and I'm sure that they don't have a full idea how it's going to look when the game goes live, but expect them to be changing up a few things on the main page and also improving the way that you purchase ships and explaining to you that you don't have to go all out and spend thousands of dollars on ships. You can just buy the $40 package and play the game when it starts, or the $45 package and start playing now. That's pretty cool. I hope they do that because let's face it, we need more people in the game than us. We need the cannon fodder to go and attack, right? Just kidding. All right, so let's talk about Friday, because Friday, pretty much I was walking all around Atlanta, and I was hoping to God that the rest of you would be getting a treat and getting the Hangar patch released to you. But it became apparent probably an hour into our tournament, and we had a tournament. Here it is over here. We'll just let it stay there. That Ben was starting to get pulled away because this patch wasn't going to come out. We knew that, right? Now, I want to talk about it this way. A lot of you are critical because they don't keep their deadlines. But I'm going to challenge you in this way. You have a unique opportunity to be in the game long before the game is out. Isn't that correct? In a Blizzard game, only friends and family would know about this portion of the game so far. In EA, you wouldn't probably know about it at all. In fact, they're not letting playtests happen or reviews happen of The Sims until after it comes out. This company is being transparent. So what we're seeing is that we're getting a lot of the pieces of the game that Chris wouldn't even show somebody that was going to invest in the game. Guess what? We did. We invested in it. We put our trust in Chris and his team, and that's where it has to lie. When the game goes live, the systems are going to be in place. The features that we want are going to be in place, and everything would have been tested by us, right? That's what we're here for. So when they're releasing new features like leaderboards and they break something else and they don't want to release it to us, it's primarily because, hey, it ain't going to be worth testing it because it's not working as intended. So we do get things that are broken, aka crashes, graphic glitches, hatches that don't work, falling through elevators, things like that, that they're fixing over time. This is something that needs to be in the game for us to test the next piece of the game, and to release it without it really doesn't do anybody any justice, right? It's not worth releasing it. It's not going to improve the gameplay. It's just going to give us something to do. We're here to test, right? That's what our purpose is now. 18 months from now, we're here to play. Right now, we're here to test. I don't mean to say this like it's a lecture. It is not. And I apologize if my conversation just came off like that. But I just read too many comments about how they miss all their deadlines. Yeah, they do. It's in development, okay? And we're going to jump on from there. So here are some of the things I'm waiting for. And of course, the first one is going to be limited from what they initially said it was going to be. I have a HOTAS system from Saytech. Saytech X55, I love it. It's awesome. And I know that some of you have the X52 and like the dual position trigger, and some of you have an X55, and some of you have a Logitech Wingman Extreme, and some of you are using CH products, an Xbox controller, or mouse and keyboard. Well, good news for all of us after the bad news. We're not going to be able to configure our own key maps, but there'll be multiple key maps for each one or most of the controllers. I like that. That way I can pick one that works a lot better than the one that's in there now. And you'll be able to select them in-game, hopefully without having to type in a long phrase. We'll see how that works. By the time 0.91, 0.92, 0.93 comes out, we'll have the ability to configure our own key maps for whichever control method we want. All right, ballistics are changing. All right, what I mean by that, ballistics would be anything that fires a projectile. That would be like the mass drivers, the Mantis Gatling guns. It would be like I guess the longsword and broadsword are firing ballistics also. Right now, they go through the shields without any trouble whatsoever. When 0.9 comes out, they are going to be greatly diminished in their effectiveness if the ship has shields, full shields, half shields, whatever. This is one of the reasons that ships have multiple types of weapons. Fire the lasers to take down the shields, fire the projectiles or neutron guns or whatever to destroy the hull. And this is how we're going to have to start playing again, all right? So when you load up your ship with all mantises, or you load up your ship with all Omnisky's cannons, expect ballistics to have less penetrating power through the shields, and expect lasers to have less penetrating power through the hulls. And that's the way it's supposed to be, and that's the way it is in some of the games that are out there, right? If you want to start playing spreadsheets and see what's more effective than the other gun, start playing Eve. That gets a lot confusing. Hangars are going to enable the room system, which means you'll be able to use your Omni Glass, I'm so sorry, and walk up to a certain area that's extendable, type in what you want there, and over time it will grow. That will not be in the game at this point because the rooms are still in development. The room system is live. I don't know if we're going to get a surprise and get at least one room, like a firing range. All I could say is I'm thankful that this is coming because it's going to start leading to the more immersive nature of a Chris Roberts game. Let's face it, the old hangars were nice, but they were placeholders, and I'm glad to see them go when they finally do. All right, leaderboard. Leaderboards for everything, right? When I saw the leaderboards, I thought it was just going to be for fighting in universe, and that's not going to be it. They're also going to be there for the New Horizons racing mode, and I'm really excited about that because I can't wait to race in my M50 and my 350R and my Mustang when I get one and see how well I do. I expect to be in the top 25%, but definitely not in the top tier. I know that there's going to be many of you that kick my butt, but racing is racing and I love it, and I can't wait to see how it works in game. With that said, one of the things that happened at Dragon Con, and you could look it up, and I highly recommend that you do not, and you just wait for it to happen, is the M50 commercial. You guys are going to be so excited when you see this commercial. It is amazing. And like I said, it is on YouTube. Somebody used their phone, got piss poor audio, horrible video. Wait for it to be released because it wasn't done when they showed us, but it is killer. With that said, I want them to do a commercial for Squadron 42. And I want it to be like, come join the UE Navy or come join the UE Marines and, you know, help fight back the Vandal Swarm. I'd love to see a commercial for that. And Ben, you better start watching my videos. I'm coming back to Santa Monica to kick your rear end. Sorry, I'm only kidding about that. But you better start watching them. We need a commercial about the upcoming Squadron 42, and we need it soon, okay? That's going to be out first. That has to be a killer commercial. And it better be like Top Gun. All right, and that's it. Already talked about the 1,000 subscribers, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of what that means. Super Hornet giveaway. I've got an issue right now. And my issue is that they suck at Gmail. For whatever reason, many of you sent me emails and they got lost in junk. I put up a spreadsheet in PDF format so nobody could alter it in my Dropbox, and the link is up here and it will be down below in the comment section. Click on it if you sent any entries at all. Please first, do not send me new entries. Send me or forward me the email that you originally sent, and I will find it. I have a rule set up now that will come right into my right place. When you send it, only put Super Hornet Contest in the subject field. The ones without Super Hornet Contest in there, and many variations of that, didn't make it to me. They wound up in the junk mail or whatever they call it, spam. And I'm starting to find them now as people are saying, hey, look for mine. I found about 160 of them today. It's taking a lot of my time, but it's worth it because one of you is going to be very happy to have this Super Hornet, right? So, with that said, we're going to give it this week for us to get everything done. I'm interviewing Ben next week, and Ben is going to be the interview for the Super Hornet giveaway. I'm also announcing today the new contest, starting with yesterday's video, is for the Freelancer MIS, and that will be given away at 1,500. Just don't look at it like, wow, that's twice as many as subscribers as you went through before, because I started this contest at 750. Once you break 1,000 on YouTube, you get featured more. I have a lot of you already subscribed, and now I'm getting more. I'll give you a for instance. It took me quite a long time to get through 25 subscribers when I first started, and I made that in 3 days. I believe that I'll be at 1,500 before November, before PAX Australia. That's what my belief is, and you're all going to help me get there. And then we'll talk about the 2001. The 2001 I want to be big, and I'll see what I can get. So I'm trying to separate the two contests so I don't confuse people. We have a Hangar Flare contest every week. I announced the winner of one yesterday, and today I'm going to announce the next contest. And it is going to be for the Hartwell Music Sentinel. The Hartwell Music Sentinel, it came in a package with the Phoenix, the Constellation Phoenix, or it was by itself. It was $15 instead of $5. That came out of my pocket. I purchased it. It wasn't donated. So I'm giving away the Hartwell Phoenix. It's a baby grand piano. For those of you that like Hangar Flare, this is a big one. And guys, that's it, except for this one last piece. I told you I'm going to be interviewing Ben next week, and that's a given. He comes on the show a lot. But I interviewed Sandy almost 9 months ago, 10 months ago. She's coming back on the show. We're going to sit down for about a half hour, and I'm going to ask her questions about the next great starship. I'm going to ask her questions about the new revenue model now that they've made their money. I'm going to ask her questions about how she, what work she goes through with her, with her people to set up cons like Gamescom and CitizenCon. And I'm going to ask her about CitizenCon. If there's any questions that you think I should ask her, and keep them nice and keep them within the framework of what her job is. She's the head of marketing, and she does a lot, all right? She promotes the games, builds industry alliances, and she builds the revenue model for us and has helped other companies do the same thing. So when I'm asking for these questions, keep them to what she does, all right? So if you have a question you want me to ask Sandy, put it down below. I'll be interviewing her on Monday, so get the questions to me no later than Friday, because I'll pick from them and send her the ones that I'm going to ask her. You asked me why I send the questions. I've done interviews in the past where I've asked people questions without sending them, or at least sending them an outline, and it doesn't work. You get a lot of ums and ahs and thoughtful glances. I think by sending questions out to my interviewees, it makes it flow better and we get much better answers. And true, there is an opportunity for them to give us a very corporate answer, but I've found in interviewing everybody at CIG, Sandy included, I've gotten candid, truthful, and fun, and you get it. They've been immensely supportive and wonderful about answering questions that I put forth to them. That's all I got this week. I'm sorry to talk your ear off as normal. Well, absolutely not. Thank you all again for subscribing, watching, and remember to click the like down below if you do like it. It helps me out immensely in placement when people search for Star Citizen related videos. That's all I got for you. Thank you very much. You all have a wonderful day. All be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.